Hey everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Word. This week we're taking a look at Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. I encourage you, if you haven't yet, get out your Bibles, open up to Matthew chapter 24, or chapter 7, verse 24, and we'll read this thing together as we dig into what this means for us today. So, opening up to verse 24, everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. The thing I thought about whenever I read these verses was the learning and all this education we get to do. I mean, as Americans, as the blessed people that we are, we get so much education. We get, all these classes, all these schooling, elementary school, grade school, all the way through middle school, high school, all this awesome information that we get to gather from these people who have made it their life's goal to teach us. It's an awesome thing. It's a real gift that we get to have that. The thing that I thought about too when I was reading this is how we have this opportunity whenever we learn something to apply it to our lives or to just kind of disregard it. I don't know if you've ever had a class, I know I had some, where I was like, oh my gosh, what does this class have to mean for me? What do I even care about this stuff? There are those classes that you take and you're like, man, this is just pointless. I had one that I thought was going to be pointless. It was a psychology class. I took an intro to psych class in high school. I think I was a sophomore or a junior. I took this class, and I remember taking the class, and I thought, oh man, this is gonna be a waste of time. I'm not gonna care about it. I have no desire to do anything with this. And I thought I just went into it with a horrible mindset. And I started learning from the class, and I learned from this professor, and I was like, man, this stuff is awesome. I really love this information. This is a great thing. I went to college, ended up actually getting my bachelor's in psychology because I loved it so much. And that class was a big part of that, and how it just spiked my interest. And I loved the class, and I loved what I was learning about and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like this with this lesson here that Jesus tells us, this parable. You see, whenever we have this information, we have this thing that we can learn from. Sometimes it's the classes we like, sometimes it's the classes we don't like. Whenever we have that information, we have two things we can do with it. We can apply it to our lives today, and we can learn from it, and we can try to take it and own it and make it a part of who we are, or we can just kind of disregard it and say, it's fine, it's whatever, it's probably something important, but maybe not so much. I don't really care about it. We can do that with anything. We can do that with history, and we can learn from these people of history and the stories that they've told and the lessons that they learn, and we can take those lessons, apply them to our lives today and say, man, how can I avoid the mistakes that they've made, and how can I capitalize on the successes that they achieved in our lives today? When we see this with Jesus here, when he reminds us that the words that he teaches us, the wisdom that he gives us, we have two options with it. We can disregard it, or we can listen to it and have it shape our lives and shape the way we do things. I would argue there's a better choice there. And we can kind of see it here with what happens here to this parable that he tells. This wise man builds his house on the words that Jesus has, builds his house on a firm foundation. When things get crazy, and life will, things go off the rails, we don't know what's going on, things are falling apart around us, we know that Jesus is still with us when we built on the foundation. Not to say that whenever something bad happens, we don't get sad or angry or anything like that. Jesus cries out to God whenever he finds out that his friend Lazarus has passed away. I mean, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he cries out to God and says, is there any way to pass this cup? Let's do it, but not my will, but your will be done. So whenever we have these opportunities, whenever things get crazy and we've built our foundation on Jesus, we know that ultimately, yes, it can be sad, it can be painful in the moment, but we don't have to dwell in that space. We don't have to dwell on this evil that's happened. We can live knowing that ultimately it's a part of our story, but it does not define our story. It's a part of who we are, but it does not make us who we are in total. And that's what this other man who doesn't build his foundation on the rock and builds it on sand finds out. He finds out that whenever things get crazy and he doesn't have a firm foundation for who he is and what makes him valued and loved and cherished as a human being, things get messy and his world falls apart. He doesn't know what to do, and he gets stuck in the past, stuck in the pain, stuck in the suffering, stuck in this storm that is his life. So I encourage you, as we see this story and we learn, and we have this blessing of being able to learn so much from the people around us, I encourage you to take the opportunity to apply it to your life. How do I learn from this and take it and make it and own it and apply it to my life? And maybe those classes that you're like, man, I don't know why I have to take this class, I just don't know what it means for me. Maybe it'll become a class you really love and you'll learn from it. You'll be like, man, I understand why this is so important for me to learn. And I encourage you this week, spend some more time with these verses. Seek those opportunities to take the wisdom that God has given you and the opportunities that God has given you to learn and apply it to your life today. Be like the man who has built his house on the foundation, on the rock that is firm. So when life gets crazy, you know who you are. You know you're cherished, valued, and loved, and you know that the storm is not the entirety of your story. It is but a part of it. So that is Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. I encourage you to spend some more time with these verses this week as we dig into what they mean for us in our lives today. This is the Wednesday Word, and we'll catch you all next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.